to LexTalk World's talk show presented by Clickaway Creators. Today we have Mr. Steve Rosenboro with us. He is a senior attorney, strategy and solutions at Microsoft USA. Steve supports senior strategy teams servicing the financial service industry as well as media, entertainment, and telecom industries. Part of Steve's function encompasses helping customers undertake their digital transformation journey, which includes intelligent cloud services, AI, blockchain, IoT, data security and privacy, data governance, and cloud policies. Before transitioning to Microsoft, Steve served 18 years in various leadership roles across Cox Enterprises, a 120-year-old privately held communications, automotive, and media conglomerate. Thanks for joining us, Steve. We are pleased to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm sure this will be a great conversation. The first question that I have for you today is that we would like to have a brief about your personal and professional background.
Great. So as you mentioned, I've been practicing law for over 25 years, and I started as an intellectual property attorney and working as a computer lawyer back when no one really wanted to label themselves as a computer lawyer or a computer attorney. And that kind of morphed into media law, and now everyone's working on media deals and entertainment and internet work. I've also done a lot of work in telecommunication outsourcing, and then as I said, I transitioned to new media work. During my time with Microsoft, I support, again, complex strategic transactions, and that includes AI, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, outsourcing, open sourcing agreements, and accessibility and sustainability, which aligns with the company's overall mission and culture. I spend a lot of time in areas currently on media, communications, entertainment industries, and financial services industries.
Right, that is interesting. In fact, I have spoken to a lot of professionals from this industry, but it's my first time speaking to somebody who is with like computer law or has that sort of a background. So this is really interesting. Tell us, Steve, what are the three major aspects of the business that you consider most important?
I think the first is integrity. And by integrity, I mean honesty, I mean reliability and veracity. I think the second is vision. We all need a roadmap and some form of North Star to guide us. And without it, we wander kind of aimlessly without a true purpose. And that applies to business, and that applies to each of us as individuals. And finally, I think it's a strong sense of humility. Share both the credit and the wealth. Consider first the needs of your employees and your customers, and invite and embrace diversity through thoughts and ideas.
I think those are three great pillars. Interesting. What has been a lighthouse beacon to you?
I think throughout my life, it's been a strong work ethic. I've been surrounded by incredibly strong, smart, and gifted women throughout my life. I was raised by three women, my grandmother, my aunt, and of course, my mother. Each one of those women demonstrated the value of work. So that has been a beacon for me, and that has translated into the person that I ultimately ended up marrying, my wife. We've been married for now 28 years, and she's one of the hardest working human beings I've had the benefit of knowing, and that's also translated to down to my daughter, who's in her junior year in college, and she's incredibly smart. Thanks to her mother, and she has an incredible work ethic, and she's just a good person. So it's just a strong work ethic for me.
Well, I'm sure when the ladies in your life watch this interview, they will be thrilled considering that you've spoken so highly of them. And that's amazing, having that sort of power behind you and those sort of values guiding you. I think it's great. And one needs to have that in their life. So kudos to you
Yes,
for that.
thank you.
What are the three best practices that you would like to recommend to our young legal professionals?
Um, Gosh, I'd say the first is focus first on becoming the best lawyer you can, and then center on becoming a highly skilled specialist. And I think all too often we're focusing on being specialized and jumping into this particular area or that particular area and studying very intently and learning to be a generalist and understanding that all of these areas of law are going to benefit you throughout the course of your life. That has served me well, and that was some advice that was given to me as I was entering into the practice of law. I think the second is understanding the concept of a consumer and a contributor. And by that, I mean knowledge, information, and resources. So in the beginning of your career, you're going to be a consumer of knowledge, information, and resources. The faster you can close the gap between being a consumer of knowledge, information, and resources and being a contributor of knowledge, of information, and of resources, then you will increase your value exponentially. Your value to yourself, your value to your family, your value to the law firm or organization or company or nonprofit that you are affiliated with. And so I would say understand the difference between those two and work really hard to bridge that gap between those two. Again, being a consumer and a contributor. And then lastly, remain agile. Versatility, adaptability, those are two qualities that now are more important than ever. And if you are adaptable, you will do very well in almost anything and everything you try.
Of course. Now, given the current state of world affairs, I think adaptability and being agile is more important than ever at this point in time.
Agreed.
Yes. Piggybacking of the same topic here, what challenges did you face during your tenure? Is there anything particular that you'd like to share with our viewers here?
Good question. So I think now it's an interesting time to ask this question because I think for me, it's standing up for what's right and for what is true. And so, for example, I've encountered, instances where business leaders have pressured me to shade the truth,
right,
about, let's say, I can recall one instance about a substantial M&A, mergers and acquisition transaction. I've experienced instances of harassment. I've experienced instances of racism against me and against colleagues of mine in various organizations. What's true and what's right has allows me to, again, focus on staying true to myself. Yes. And making certain that my values align with the organization that I'm affiliated with. And so I think that those are major issues that I've dealt with throughout the tenure of my life. And fortunately, I first try to focus on those organizations that align with my value systems. Right. And not everyone within those organizations, do their values align with my values. But by and large, I have found that when I focus on the organization, its culture, its values, do they align with my values? And when I do encounter an issue, a conflict in terms of values, then and then it's easier for me to stay true to myself. It's easier for me to do what's right.
Right. No, come to think of it, that you have experienced all these things, and the fact that you're so strong, all these credentials to your name and everything that you've done, that is just fabulous. Once again, more power to you. It's great with what you've achieved, and eventually, of course, the truth always prevails. People can shade it for a while,
Yes.
but I'm glad that you just stuck to your values. That is amazing. And I think it's great for our viewers also who are listening to this interview, that eventually it is the truth and your values that, get you by, and one should not compromise on them.
Indeed.
What are your thoughts on working with difficult managers?
That's a really good question. I'll tell you a quick story. Several months ago, I was attending a Microsoft event. Young lady approached me. We were seated next to one another, and we struck up a conversation, very brief, and she mentioned that she was encountering some friction issues with her then manager. And we didn't have time to go in depth, but I just mentioned that her then manager, actually, I considered a blessing. And if she had time, she could reach out to me and I could share with her more about why I felt that way. And so we never had an opportunity to connect, but so now this is a terrific venue for me to kind of share at least my thoughts, because I never had a chance to communicate with her about this issue. So, Microsoft is focused on empowering every person and every organization in the world to achieve more. And, to achieve that goal, my colleagues and I must kind of focus on not on our own needs, but instead focus on others. And that's a significant shift. And so as part of that shift, we often talk about being an ally and value systems and culture, and how culture wins over strategy. So one of the things that I've benefited from while being in Microsoft, and I have a terrific manager, my prior managers were great, but I've had a string of managers throughout my last 35 years where they were imperfect. And I view it, every imperfect manager that I've had the pleasure of working with compelled me to be a better colleague, a better employee, a better professional, and a better manager. And I think a much better leader. And I hope this helped me to become a better human being. And let me unpack that a little bit. So the arrogant managers taught me the value of humility. Some of the managers that I viewed as being stingy, let's say with financial rewards or sharing of credit, they taught me the power of generosity. Managers that yielded to temper tantrums, they compelled me to learn how to remain calm and hopefully, for the most part, how to be kind.
Right.
Managers that lacked a voice and perspective taught me the importance to have a vision, because it's a vision that really energizes individuals, teams, departments, and large organizations.
Right.
And then finally, pessimistic managers, and I've had a handful of those. Those are the managers that I've encountered who believe that everyone on their team, their colleagues, their organization is less than instead of is greater than. It's always the glass is half empty instead of the glass is half full. Right. Those managers have taught me about optimism. And there is and I'm paraphrasing now, but there was a quote by, that I recall by former Secretary of State Colin Powell, states that perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. And I truly believe that perpetual optimism can propel a group, it can propel a team, an organization, it can propel a nation. And we're seeing this now.
Yes,
it can propel a nation to have the confidence to literally move mountains with very little power or resources, or at least very little express power and resources.
Right.
So,
indeed, we are seeing that.
Yes, indeed.
So what are I know we've spoken about this, you've spoken about challenges that you faced during your tenure. But given the state of world affairs, what are the challenges that you're facing at this point in time, and what sort of a solution do you envision?
I think one of the challenges I'm facing now professionally is helping my colleagues, my organization transition to a truly employee, customer-centric, centered organization.
Right.
And under the leadership of Microsoft's current CEO, Satya Nadella, he's doing terrific work. The leadership team is doing outstanding work. But it takes an entire village to undertake the kind of cultural shift focused less on myself, focused less on my rewards, and focused more on my colleagues, the fellow employees, my customers, our clients. And so that shift in mindset is one of the things that I'm really focused on right now and helping.
Of course, I think at this point in time, it's all the more imperative that we realize that the people that we're working with are also humans.
Exactly.
And it would be a very employee-centric and a customer-centric approach. Of course, profits would always be at the back of our minds, and eventually growth is the ultimate goal, but then it has to be people-centric, be it employees or customers.
I agree with you fully. If you focus on the customer's needs first, and appreciating what not only their needs are, but what they're afraid of, what are their fears, and then you meet them where they are at that moment in time, you'll be financially successful because you will have made that human connection.
Yes.
And we have to be profit driven. We understand that. But there are many paths to generating revenue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad that companies are realizing it. Most of the companies do always have this, but it's at the back burner. It's this situation, when we are literally like forced into our homes and, confines of our four walls, that now it's becoming really relevant.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yes.
It is.
So thank you so much, Steve, for having such, great insights and sharing them with us. We look forward to having a chat with you again in the future on some other trending topics in the international legal industry. For our viewers, if you like this interview and you want to have more coming from industry leaders, please like, share, and subscribe to ClickAway Creators YouTube channel. This is Prachi for LexTalk World.